Garry takes on Carlos Prates next weekend for UFC Fight Night, Kansas City. Today I'm going to go over my early predictions on the whole entire card. Look, I usually use the UFC website, but they don't have a lot of the fights on there, man. There's like 2 missing. These 2 aren't even on there for some reason, so they haven't updated their site. So Tapology just doesn't look as nice, but got to do it on here. The first fight up, DaMon Blackshear, Alatengheili. Alatengheili, when's his last win? Cledson Rodriguez, that's not a good one. This should be quite easy for DaMon Blackshear. He's got a lot of good wins in competitive fights. I mean, the dude's 30 years old. He's a beast of a grappler. He's got like a solid Muay Thai striking base. Man, in his last 2 fights, he's looked outstanding. Really, he really has. I mean, like this Cody Stamann finish was unbelievable. He hurt Cody Stamann really bad with a flying knee, took him down, and locked up a rear naked choke in the first round, dominated him. Cody Stamann's a tough, durable dude, and DaMon Blackshear had him hurt real bad. So, these other losses, this one, Mario Bautista was on, really short notice, and he came out there and put up a good fight. Arguably, in some eyes, people thought he won that fight, and Mario Bautista, we've seen what he's able to do. He's a top 15 fighter, and he's a good fighter at that. Montel Jackson, kind of just walked into it, and I picked DaMon Blackshear in that fight, and if they ran it back, I'd still pick DaMon Blackshear. I think if that fight gets extended, Blackshear's the guy with the more volume, and he does have good volume. He's got good kicks. He's got a good 1-2 right down the middle. But Alatengheili, man, doesn't impress me. He is a powerful dude. If he hits you clean, he can knock you out. But he's not that good of a fighter, and it really comes down to that. Chris Gutierrez had his way, and all of these wins are not great. Cledson Rodriguez out of the UFC. Chad Anilger out of the UFC. Kevin Kroom out of the UFC. All these guys are out. You know what I mean? And DaMon Blackshear's been on a roll here. I'm going to go with DaMon Blackshear. I think he wins this fight relatively easily. I like DaMon Blackshear's game a whole lot. And I think he wraps up a submission here, takes him down. And 11 subs, man. This guy's really good. I'm excited to see what Damon Jackson can do. I think he can find himself in the top 15. He's been super active, a good fighter. I think he wins this fight pretty easily. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be John Castaneda taking on Chris Gutierrez. So DaMon Blackshear is also minus 290. I think he might rise, honestly, because he's a very good fighter. This fight, booked again. We've already tried to get this fight done. But now you're actually going to see Chris Gutierrez is kind of widened here. I think he's, where is it? My goodness. I'm sorry. Minus 140 on Chris Gutierrez. Now, when this line initially came out, it's a pick'em, and that's how I do see this fight. Honestly, Chris Gutierrez, man, I worry about his takedown defense. It looked good previously in the past, but man, as of recent, taken down by Yadong multiple times in that 5-round fight. Not the worst thing, but then he's taken down for a round and controlled by Quang Le, a guy who made his debut on short notice, and Quang Le lost his next fight. I don't think Quang Le's UFC level, and Gutierrez dropped a round to him, and I believe that both these guys are similar on the feet. I think that Chris Gutierrez, not the great punch, not the great boxing, not great boxing. I think that Castaneda has better boxing. It's all going to be how Castaneda defends these kicks. Chris Gutierrez can tear your legs apart, and that's exactly what he's going to look to do. Now, I do like the southpaw matchup because I believe that Chris Gutierrez is an orthodox fighter, but he will constantly switch stances, give you different looks. I haven't liked the way that Chris Gutierrez has looked, honestly, guys. I don't... Rocked badly by Muniz. Alatengheili, like we saw before, beat his legs up. Pretty good performance there, but I don't think highly of Alatengheili. I think that Castaneda, although I did pick Gutierrez to initially get it done versus Castaneda in the first fight whenever it was booked, I think I'm going to go with Castaneda. Now, Castaneda, he's got decent boxing. My issue with Castaneda is his, kind of sparring style on the feet. He's usually out there touching you, not throwing hard, not throwing aggressively. And, this Daniel Marcos fight got killed, honestly. But Daniel Marcos, to me, is a guy with better takedown defense than a guy like Chris Gutierrez, and probably even a better striker than Chris Gutierrez is. Kyung Ho Kong, pretty good win there. Muin Gafurov, a good win. John Castaneda is definitely a good fighter, but he's got to get the takedowns going. If he's able to get the takedowns going, I think he wins this fight. I do believe this fight should be a pick'em, and it's kind of hard for me to, give you guys a pick here, but I do think the value is on John Castaneda, so I'm going to pick him here. And it's really due to the fact I don't like Chris Gutierrez takedown defense as of recently, and that's what I'm going to go. That's why I'm going to go John Castaneda. He's got good cardio. He can push the pace. He can go all day, as with Gutierrez. But I think the takedowns for Castaneda are going to help him here, and if he's able to get it down, I could see him winning because I can see him keeping it close on the feet as well. I'm going to go with John Castaneda here. Not too confident, though. We'll move on to the next one, which is low-key a banger here. We got Timmy Cuamba taking on Roberto Romero. Roberto Romero coming off a pretty crazy fight with David Onama where he hurt David Onama badly early on. And I liked Robert Romero when I watched him, especially in that Onama fight. I talked about how he could keep it competitive with David Onama, and that's exactly what he did. He hurt him badly in the first round. Took a good beating there. He's a tough dude. He's durable. But I don't know if how good his takedown defense is, because I remember when I was really watching Robert Romero, I was really looking at his striking because David Onama is purely a striker. And I liked his striking a lot. He's got good boxing. But I don't know his takedown defense. I don't know how good it is. I'm going to have to go back and look at it. But if he can keep this fight on the feet, I think he can do pretty good. But I do believe that Timmy Cuamba is a talented fighter. Timmy Cuamba, not a great performance versus Lucas Almeida. Got dropped multiple times by Almeida. Hurt badly multiple times. And, not the best look. But he's still a good fighter. He's quick. He's got good low kicks. He's got a nice jab. Kept it close with Balagioki on short notice, who pretty good performance there. You know what I mean? And I think if Timmy Cuamba gets this fight down, he can have some success. You're looking at plus 125 on Timmy Cuamba. Another kind of close fight that I see. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and look at the film, of course, but I don't really mind Timmy Cuamba. I think he's a pretty solid fighter. I'm actually going to side with the underdog here. I'm going to go with Timmy Cuamba, and we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, got to go watch film, of course. But I think Timmy Cuamba is a pretty good fighter. He's still young. He's got more experience in the UFC. Going to be an interesting fight for sure. But I'm going to lean Timmy Cuamba early on. We got next up is Ahmad Hassanzada versus Evan Elder. This should be an Evan Elder win all day, every day. Evan Elder, he's coming in at minus 385. And I don't know if that number is completely right, but I do believe he's going to win this fight. Ahmed Hassanzada, two-time Contender Series guy, got dominated, absolutely dominated by Nazim Sadikov early on. Spinning back kick to the body from Nazim Sadikov hurt him badly and then finished him bad. It was a good performance from Nazim, and he really dominated him in this fight. This fight with Dylan Mentello, I remember watching it. I wasn't too impressed. Hassanzada gassed out. And to me, man, I think that Evan Elder is actually a hell of a fighter. You know what I mean? Evan Elder, he's tough. He's got good BJJ. He's got power in his hands. He's got good striking. You know what I mean? He came in here. Darius Flowers submitted him early on. And even in this fight versus Nazim Sadikov, arguably was winning this fight before the stoppage with the cut. And I don't know. I thought it was a close fight, but it was still a good performance. Evan Elder was able to keep up with Nazim Sadikov for most of that fight. And like I said, a lot of people had him 2-0 in that fight versus Nazim. And it got stopped because of a doctor stoppage. He's a good fighter, man. He should be able to come in here and dominate Hassanzada. I think that he's just more physical, better, bigger guy, better striker. I just think he's the better fighter here, and I don't think it gets any more simpler than that. So I'm going to go Evan Elder. I think he gets this one done inside the distance, and we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Now, originally, I thought Matt Schnell had retired, but he should be a heavy favorite in this matchup versus Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick, for a division like flyweight where you need so much diversity, you need to be a good striker. You need to be a good grappler. Jimmy Flick doesn't have that, right? He's a submission guy. He does have good submissions, and if you slip up and he's able to get you down, he can take advantage of it and choke you out. You saw it in the Malcolm Gordon fight here, but he's not a great fighter, and it's simply because of his striking. It's not great. Matt Schnell, while he is very chinny, he's been knocked out a lot of times, he's actually powerful. His boxing technique isn't bad. He's on a 3-fight losing streak here, but all the good opponents. Durden's a good fighter. Urseg, obviously a great fighter. Mateusz Nicolau, another good fighter. But man, he's so not durable. But Jimmy Flick doesn't really provide that much danger, you know what I mean, especially on the feet. So I think that Matt Schnell, with that wrestling background, he should be able to get this one done. He's got good striking, man. Even in that Urseg fight, you know, he had him in some trouble, Urseg in some trouble. He was hitting him a good amount of times. Just ended up, that chin just cracked again. And I thought he retired after the Durden fight, but he's back against Jimmy Flick, and I expect him to knock Jimmy Flick out. Matt Schnell, the name, danger. He is dangerous. He hits hard, man. I think that he's going to knock Jimmy Flick out. You know, Jimmy Flick, like I said, very one-dimensional as a flyweight, not good. I like him to get it done, Matt Schnell. I'm going with Matt Schnell here. Pretty big favorite. I think he gets it done. And we'll move on to the next one. Chelsea Chandler taking on Joselyne Edwards. I'm going Joselyne Edwards here. She's been really active. You know, Chelsea Chandler, was this the Norma Dumont fight? Which one's that? Okay, yeah, I don't know much about Chelsea Chandler, to be honest with you, but Joselyne Edwards seems to improved on her holes in her game, which was the takedown defense. She seemed to improve that a little bit, and I'm not sure what the odds are here. Right here, minus 225. I'm going to go with Joselyne Edwards here. I think she gets it done by a decision, and we'll move on to the next one. Good matchup here. You got Malcolm Wellmaker, a guy from my state, you know, one of the only guys from my state in the UFC, taking on Cameron Saaiman. Saimon's coming on a 2-fight losing streak. Where is this fight? He's a plus 110 underdog to the minus 130. Wellmaker, favorite. You know, Wellmaker, he's 30 years old. He's 8-0, so he's a little bit of an older guy. He doesn't have that much experience, but in this knockout, man, over Adam Bramhold, nasty, man, nasty. Fading back, right hand on the temple, dropped him, just put him out face first. And that's what Malcolm Wellmaker can do. He's crafty on the feet. He's difficult on the feet. You know, hands are low. Shots come from weird angles. And he's powerful. He hits hard. You know, my issues with Saaiman is I really do feel like it's his physicality. I don't feel like he is a big bantamweight. And he's 24 years old. He's young. But you can see him in these fights where he's losing to C-Rod, who missed weight, of course. He's just out physical, and even in the Talbot fight, he's just not big enough. And I think that Malcolm Wellmaker is a big bantamweight. 5'10", 71-inch reach, and he's got a big frame. He's a big dude for bantamweight, and he's powerful. I feel like this is not a great matchup for Saaiman. I do think that he can win kind of the volume fight, and it's going to be an interesting fight for sure. I definitely think it is close, but to me, man, the bigger moments, the bigger shots are going to be coming by way of Malcolm Wellmaker. I've been watching this guy for a while. I like his game a lot. We'll see how this fight plays out. It should be a good one, though. I like Malcolm Wellmaker here. I think the physicality is going to be a little bit too much for Saaiman, but obviously, early predictions, man. We never know. But we'll move on to the next one. I'm going with Malcolm Wellmaker there. Move on to the next one. Polyana Viana taking on Jaqueline Armand. I don't know who this lady is, I'm going to be honest with y'all. But she looks pretty damn good. She looks good. And Polyana Viana, not a great fighter. You know, she's just known for her looks a little bit. But I think that, where is this fight? She is plus 350. I'm going to go with Jaqueline here. Don't know much about her, but minus 450 should be able to get the job done. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be a good fight here. We got Randy Brown taking on Nicolas Dalby. Nicolas Dalby is going to be plus 170 here, and he's always the underdog. But Nicolas Dalby, man, he's a tough guy to get out of there. He's a tough guy to just beat in general. As you can see, man, this is all in the UFC, right? He's beating all of these guys in the UFC. You know, an incredible win over Gabriel Bonfim, and that's just what Nicolas Dalby's about. You know, he's 40 years old, but he's one of the better 40-year-olds. He still looks great. He's got great cardio. He's got solid striking. He's got good takedown defense. And he's a good fighter, man, and there's no doubting that. He's a tough dude. He can go all day with the cardio. And he's, like I said, man, he's got good wins. There's no doubt about it. I mean, look at this win streak. You know, some of the Tim Means is not a great loss. But being that old and being able to put together 4 wins in a row, and this fight versus Renat Fakhretdinov kept it close. I thought he won the fight, and I actually picked him to beat Renat, and I really thought he won that fight, but he didn't end up getting the nod because he got dropped early on. But man, he's just a tough guy to get out of there. You know, it's a tight fight. Randy Brown, it's a bit of a bad stylistic matchup for Nicolas Dalby, but Randy Brown's still good fighter, man. 13-6 in the UFC. Very impressive record. Lost to Brian Battle. Thought he won that fight, to be honest with you. I really thought he won that fight, but it was close. Ended up gassing out a little bit, but Battle missed weight in that one. But he looked good in there, man. Good combinations. He's quick. He's very long for the division. Ezequiel dos Santos had a good performance there. He could have knocked him out and landed a nasty knee up the middle. And that's what I think, that if Randy Brown gets it done, I think he can knock out Nicolas Dalby, who's notoriously a tough dude. But we've kind of like seen the durability fade a little bit. So I think that Randy Brown can knock him out. Man, it's a tight fight. It's a tight fight. I like Nick Dalby a lot because he's just a tough dude, veteran who just has good everywhere. You know what I mean? And I just think he's a little bit outmatched in terms of athleticism and speed in this one, and power as well. Maybe Nicolas Dalby comes out there and takes the third round, but other than that, I don't see him being able to put it together versus Randy Brown. But I am going to go Randy Brown, either KO or 29-28 decision over Nicolas Dalby. I don't know if I like minus 200 on Randy Brown, though. Just because Nick Dalby is such a tough guy to figure out, tough guy to get out of there, just good fighter, man. I don't know what else to say about him. There's definitely a chance I could be going with Nicolas Dalby in the future, but we'll see what happens. Next up is going to be Ikram Aliskerov taking on Andre Muniz, another fight that was postponed, I want to say. And Ikram's coming in here at minus 650, which makes sense to me. I don't think Andre Muniz, he's older, he's very long for the division. He's not a great striker. I think that Ikram is going to have the power advantage. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think that highly of Ikram Aliskerov. I don't think that he is some, top 5, top 10 guy. I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like, obviously the Dagestan wrestling background, of course, he's a good grappler for sure. And he's probably going to be able to hold Andre Muniz on his back, which we've seen people do. Andre Muniz is known as some insane BJJ guy. And he is, of course, has, good grappling, but I think that Ikram's going to be able to take him down and going to be able to, control him there. We've seen Brendan Allen be able to do it. Paul Craig was able to TKO him, which is kind of nuts. What's his last one? Oh, yeah. My bad. Iron Turtle. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Ikram here. Minus 650 seems a little bit ridiculous just because I'm not that high on Ikram, but he should get the job done here. We're going with Ikram Aliskerov here inside the distance. He'll move on to the next fight, which is this is an incredible fight. Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama. Onama's minus 180, which I don't like. I'm actually going with Giga Chikadze for my early prediction here because I think that he's more skilled, and it comes down to that for me. Onama, obviously, man, he's just dangerous, right? He hits hard. He's huge for the division. He's intimidating, but he's had some hairy moments, right? You see this fight here, Roberto Romero, a little bit hairy. We don't, not the best performance there. Ended up winning that fight, but he still got hurt a couple times there. Romero stole a round off him. Jonathan Pierce, pretty good win there. Gabriel Santos, a win that's going to age very, very well. But I think if you throw Gabriel Santos in there with David Onama right now, I would pick Gabriel Santos. I think Santos is a better fighter. But man, Onama's just he's a dangerous dude, but I don't know if I like the matchup for him. I think that Giga, while he's not been looking great recently, lost to Arnold Allen though, guys. Like, this isn't like he's losing to the, worst fighters or bad competition. Caceres won that fight pretty easily. And then the Cater fight obviously got fucked up badly in that one. But this guy's still able to put together a nasty win streak. Omar Morales is a pretty decent fighter. Cub Swanson, Edson Barboza, finished Barboza. And he's a tough dude, man, no matter what. Giga's a tough guy. I don't think he's been finished. No, he hasn't. And I think this is a tough matchup for Onama. Obviously, the kicking, the prowess of his kickboxing is going to be a problem for David Onama in this one. I think that Giga wins this fight. And I just think he's better, man. I don't know what else to say. And I think it's the skill is going to be on display here, especially because Giga is taking a pretty big step down in competition. And the last time he took a step down in competition against Caceres, he put on a pretty good performance. So I'm going to go with Giga Chikadze here for my early prediction. And we'll move on to the next fight, which is going to be Michel Pereira, Abus Magomedov, or Abus. I don't know how to say his name. Man, minus 160 on Michel. I really think Michel's going to smoke him. You know what I mean? I don't know if I understand this line. And my eyes might be deceiving me. Obviously, Michel's coming off a brutal loss versus Anthony Hernandez, but he put together a solid win streak up at middleweight, and he's looked good at middleweight. The competition has not been great whatsoever, but I mean, the Petroski win is aging pretty well. Dominated Andre Petroski, knocked him out early on. In Abbas Magomedov, I feel like it's just kind of a good matchup for Michel, right? Michel, he's an explosive guy early on. He hits hard. He's got good takedown defense, and I think he's going to be able to stuff Abbas Magomedov's takedowns if that's what Abbas Magomedov goes to. Abbas he's very skilled, and I will say that about Abbas. Like, he's an extremely skilled fighter, but it's obviously that cardio, which just cannot seem to get fixed. Every single time you'll hear the commentary team talking about, oh, he's with the new strength and conditioning, oh, this and that, but he looks the exact same. The Warlley Alves fight, not impressive, not great. The Bruno Ferreira fight, still hairy, right? He looked good in the first round, but got cracked big time by Bruno Ferreira, who hits hard, of course, and Bruno's a good fighter for sure. But, man, these wins aren't that great. Dustin Stoltzfus is a good fighter, but I just don't know, man. I think that Michel's just better than this guy, and I feel like that's what it comes down to. Michel's dangerous as hell. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good striking, and I do believe, his cardio is going to be better here. I think Abbas is going to have to finish him early on, but I think that as the fight progresses, Michel is going to be able to still carry that kind of power and have the better gas tank. Obviously, this was just probably took a couple of years off his life in this fight, and it was just a pure dominant performance from Anthony Hernandez. And, but other than that, man, the guy's still beating good fighters. Fialho was good back then, Ponzinibbio, Chaos Williams. I still think Michel is good enough to win this fight. I'm going to go with Michel Pereira. I think that he's just going to land something hard and knock Abbas out in the second round. It's kind of going to be about if Michel can survive, which I can see him doing. He's a tough dude, big dude for 85, and he's a good athlete, very athletic guy. Wait, I want to check this because it said on the website he has a 73-inch reach. I feel like Michel has like a crazy reach. I don't know, but the speed of Michel is going to give Abbas problems. And, if Abbas can maybe do well early on, but as the fight progresses, I'm going with Michel Pereira here by a finish. I like the number as well. We'll see what happens. I'm going to put it in my Discord if I'm taking Michel early on. But, yeah, man, to me, Michel's better here. I think he wins the fight. And, we'll move on to the co-main event, which should be a pretty relatively easy one to pick here. Mingyang Zhang is minus 500. He's taking on Anthony Hernandez, and Anthony Hernandez is just a badass, man. You got to give this guy a ton of credit because this is his retirement fight, and he's taking on Mingyang Zhang. He could have declined the fight, but this guy's just, he's just a tough guy, man. I like Anthony Smith for that, and I respect him for that. But this is not an easy fight for him. He's going to have to deal with an explosive guy early on who I don't even know how many Mingyang Zhang first-round finishes. I think all of his fights are finished inside the first round. And that's just what he does, man. He's just dangerous. He's got nasty boxing. He's tough as hell. And he's just hits hard, man. He's got good technique. He's a very good fighter. I've liked Mingyang Zhang a lot for a long time. Ever since he put it on Tuco Tucos, knocked him out cold. And he's been on a 3-fight winning streak, all in the first round. He's a dangerous guy. And, I'm going to go with Mingyang Zhang here. I just don't think that, we haven't seen the best of Anthony Smith, and I think this is a brutal fight for him. I'm going to go with Mingyang Zhang to finish this fight in the first round, and we will move on to the main event, which I'm going to keep you on a cliffhanger because I'm dropping a video tomorrow. So on the full fight breakdown, but I'll give you a little bit of insight of what I've been looking at here. Prates versus Garry. I love this fight. Love this matchup. It's going to be interesting, man. You see the odds here at a pick'em, and it's going to be a tight fight because on one end you got Ian Garry, who's going to look to probably mix it up. He's a smart fighter. He's got good volume. He's got good speed. He's got good footwork. But then you got Prates, who is a great striker, a long reach, and just powerful in that left. He sets you up well. And his takedown defense has honestly looked very good. I think it's going to be a problem for Ian Garry if he can't get it to the ground. I don't think he's going to be able to. I think Prates has looked really good. Ian Garry's obviously a great fighter. And I think it's a really tight fight. I'll say that. I think it's really, really tight. But I am going to drop my full breakdown on this fight tomorrow, hopefully. So make sure you stay tuned to that because I love the matchup so much. But yeah, man, that's going to wrap it up for my early predictions. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.